G'day. Well, we just got home from our 13-day, 6,800 kilometre Simpson Desert adventure. Left our home in the Blue Mountains, drove straight across through Victoria, South Australia, up into the Territory, and then across to Mount Dare, then east across the Madigan line, south to the French line, back across the French line to Dalhousie Springs, and then back home with a surprise unplanned visit to Arkaroola, and then Cameron Corner on the way home. So we thought someone out there might get some benefit on how we packed our car for the trip. So I'll give you a run around. Might be a bit of different colours and stuff because I filmed some of this last night, and I'll use some of that, and I'll talk about some of it today as well. But this is just how we set out our normal dual cab ute with a canopy, with nothing on the roof, and managed to get everything in for 2 people for 2 weeks. So the first thing you'll notice is the car is an absolute pigsty, and that's because we literally just got home. So we haven't had a chance to clean it, and 2 weeks of desert travel will bring a lot of sand into your car. So excuse the mess. But yeah, in the front, got the easy to access fire extinguisher, because if your car goes down in the desert, everything is in it, you need to be able to put it out quick. Then we hired a little Joby tripod behind that for the big SLR that we've got. Probably the best thing we've got in the front here is this repurposed seat pocket holder. So these usually go on the back of the seat, but Mel's repurposed this to sit in between them, and it gave us a great little space to store things in between the seats. So we've got our sat phone in there, all our batteries, headphones, sunglasses, and that sort of stuff. Just really easy grab space that doesn't rattle around. So if you have it in all those pockets and things like that, it tends to do a lot of rattling around. So yeah, having that in between the seats was really, really good. Then into one side in the back, got our fridge set up there. I think it's a 55 litre fridge. Got our dual battery box, just one of the crappy little Kings ones with a cracky Kings DC-DC charger. But it's a lithium, iTech World lithium 120 amp hour. So that never, driving every day obviously, but that never got below 90%, I think, running the fridge overnight. Then we've got the cable that runs to the battery, front battery through there. That little spot worked well for my big SLR camera, and our big lens fits down in there perfectly, none of that rattled around. Then we had a solar blanket, just ratchet strapped to the front of the fridge. Now to hold everything down, we found obviously all of your seat anchor points and seatbelt anchor points. We pulled out the 2 seatbelt anchor points on the passenger side, on the driver's side. We left this one here because it's not removable. It was removable, but we needed the 2 points. But we purchased these little things here, which are removable climbing anchors, and they're $2 each. Something like that, $2 each. And so we just used the normal seatbelt bolts, and that gave us awesome tie down points that we could use. So a couple of carabiners just to run the ratchet straps through, because the ratchet straps don't go well through those. We also did those down on the back of the, you can't see it probably, but down on the back of the seat rails. It gave us tie down points for that. So that's how the battery is ratcheted down. So yeah, they worked really, really well. None of this stuff moved an inch, and they're designed for 4-ton loads or whatever, so they are completely fine to do that. Then on the back of each seat headrest, we managed to put our medical kits. So there's one on each side. I think this is the remote kit, and that's just the normal kit. On the other side over there, they were super accessible, never needed them, but super accessible in case we did, and they're just held on by a little cam buckle. Before we went, I also heat shrunk every of the zipper toggles so they didn't rattle and vibrate. So these, I think we got a tiny bit of vibration out of one of them, but that was it. Otherwise they were making noise just driving around the street. So that was a really easy, quick mod that just stopped that noise. And then up on the A-pillar on the other side, which you can see is that's where we've got our EPIRB. So if something seriously goes wrong, we can both grab that really easily. And the same with the sat phone, just in between the seats. So if something goes wrong, we can get to those without getting out of the car if we need to. So on this side, and Mel said a key point to mention is we removed the seat. So yeah, obviously there's no seat in the back, pop that out. That's like 6 bolts and 30 seconds to pull out. And to stop the vibrations, got all these all the seat belts and stuff, just used Gorilla Tape and stuck them down so they didn't move an inch. So on this side, we just had 2 of these 45 litre tax tubs. I think they are from Bunnings. Really good, full. So we've got a ratchet strap with that. Again, using those climbing anchors. That didn't move an inch. Top one for us was full of food. Bottom one is just full of musk stuff. I don't even remember.
Toilet papers
and things like that. Extra drinks, things like that. And then in behind this seat, we had 2 15 litre water jerrys. Yeah, so that's where we kept some of the water, and it kept it nice scented weight, which was really, really good. So yeah, that's what we had in all the cab, and then just various crap that you can put anywhere that just ended up getting worse and worse throughout the trip. Then into the Canopy. So we weren't sure on what our fuel economy was going to be in the desert. We'd had a rough idea when we did a trip out to Popple Corner and back that it was around 13 litres per 100k. But as we were going super remote, we wanted to make sure that we didn't stuff up and run out. So we actually took, on top of our 140 odd litres in the tank, we took 6 jerry cans. So another 120 litres. We didn't actually need a single one of those. We got all the way into Udnadatta on the tank. So next time we do that, we'd only take probably 2, maybe 3, which means that the other water could go in that line. So they're actually held down by 2 ratchet straps. We made a little Y buckle that goes down on the tie down points in the back, and then we could have 2 ratchet straps that are anchored together. So they pull all the jerrys down and back. So they move a little bit, but they did not bounce around at all on the trip. So off the tie-down points right at the back of the Hilux tub, we just used a little D-shackle. Mel sewed up a really short bit of ratchet strap, and then on this bigger triangle shackle, we had one long arm without a ratchet and one short arm with the ratchet on both sides. So that sat behind the jerrys sort of like that, and meant the top one pulled them down and the bottom one pulled them back in, and they acted together. And it was 10 minutes of sewing, or probably like 5 minutes of sewing, for really, really good system, and it was easy as to put in. Once it was there, they did not move. So yeah, highly recommend that. It was probably one of the best little concoctions we did, other than the seatback carrier conversion. That worked really, really well. On the other side, we just had 25 litres of water. That hasn't moved or been touched, so we still have that's full. And the 15 litre, one of the 15 litre footwells is still full as well. Got our stove, just one of those crappy Bunnings butane gas stoves. That just slots down in the side. Running across the middle, we had a whole bunch of firewood in this hole here with the fire on top, fire pit on top. Then the spare wheel number 2, the other spare wheels under the car. And in the well of that spare wheel was also full of firewood. So we used up the rest of our firewood last night, but we really didn't need anywhere near as much as we had, or we could have been less thrifty each time. And then in this bag here, this is something Mel sewn up, but this bag here has 4 Max Tracks in it, and it has a little handled shovel in there. And that was awesome. That's just tied down again with ratchet straps. So next time, this doesn't actually have any, this is just using the side rails in the car, which made it really, really annoying. So next time we would, I'd put in some proper anchors for that, just because you had to have 2 people to put that ratchet strap in each time. Otherwise you just couldn't get it to tie on, because it just slips off the side. So I'd definitely just put in a little anchor on each side, or even one side, just so it doesn't slip when you're trying to tie it down. But yeah, that worked really well, and then you could grab your shovel out to do your business and stuff really, really quickly. Then in here we had a water ratcheted down. I actually had a better one with a hose attached to it, but in Arkaroola I snapped the tap off the end of the hose, so we've had to revert to this, which is terrible because the tap spins whenever you undo it, but it works, and it meant you could always get water really quickly and really easily. We've then got a couple of those crappy little King's bags. They do the job. One held like emergency food. That's like backcountry, super lightweight, dehydrated food. We didn't expect it, but it was more if we got stuck in the desert for 5 days waiting for rescue. So that never even got opened. Then just had another one with our raincoats and stuff like that. Just stuff that they're in heavy duty bags, they didn't matter. They've also got these King's drawers. This one is full of
just cooking stuff, things like that. Biggest mistake we made of this is just putting stuff in and expecting it to stay there. In the desert, on any of that stuff, it moves the second you start driving. So it just, everything within 5 minutes of going across the dunes, everything would be in this back quarter. So next time we just buy a bunch more of these little King's bags and just use those and just have them stacked up in there so that it doesn't all fly through it, and they just sit in each little spot. So yeah, that's the biggest change I'd have there.
It also, everything would get stuck in the drawers, so you couldn't open them each time everything moved out. So
yeah,
something to kind of just secure things down.
So that was a pain in the neck. But yeah, so these drawers worked well for the purpose, but that would have been it. The other drawer is just full of all of our tools, so normal stuff that you carry, plus a rattle gun, impact driver, and outdoor screws for 10 pegs is the best solution ever. But yeah, and then so last of all, well, not so last of all, second last of all, clothing. Mel and I got one of these Cedar Summit bags each. These are Cedar Summit duffels. They are designed as a what would you call it? Adventure. They're an adventure bag, basically. They're designed to travel around the world on an expedition bag. That's it. They're designed as an expedition bag. They are absolutely bulletproof. So all that on top of Mel's bag is paint from the car, from rattling around in the tub, hitting things. These didn't get strapped down because we didn't care about them. And there is zero damage. There is a bit of colouring, but that's it. Like, these things are absolutely bulletproof.
Waterproof.
Also waterproof.
Waterproof.
Unless you submerge them, they're waterproof. If it buckets down rain, they're going to stay dry. It's only if they go underwater. These things are absolutely incredible, and you can stuff in so much stuff. So we got one of those each for our clothes bags.
These are the 45 litre.
Yeah, 45 litre worked really, really well for all of our clothes. So yeah, I can't recommend these enough. These are so strong. If you needed to tie them down, there's heaps of places you can, but yeah. So last of all is our sleeping bag, with our stuff for sleeping, the bag for that. So we got this one 65 litre duffel bag. So the same as the Cedar Summit other bags, just a 65 litre version. Now, on the way out, we saw many cars with massive swags on their roof, multiple swags, which are huge windbreaks, massive fuel resistance, everything. Everything for both of us is in this. We've got our tent, we've got our 2 sleeping bags, pillows,
Bed mats,
and our bed mats in this one bag. We can pull it out, we can set up camp in 10 minutes and pack down camp in 10 minutes. So whilst I'm sure swags are great, to have that extra load on your roof for wind resistance alone seems silly when everything is in there and it's solid as and incredible. So yeah, those 3 bags we just slotted in. They're bulletproof, so we didn't care about them moving around. But yeah, they were good. For our firewood, we had them in these King's, they're like King's barbecue bags or something like that. They're massive, they're like a 90 litre bag. Pretty strong, like you can carry them full of firewood, but it just stops you getting all of the firewood crap everywhere. And yeah, they hold them really well. So we had 2 of those full of firewood, and that was in those 2 spots in the car. But yeah, highly recommend these if you just got somewhere you want to put firewood, like pre-cut and pre-split, but worked a treat.
So another really useful thing this car has is an AC power point in the glove box here. So what we did it ages ago actually, but best thing we've done is get, I don't know if I can even really see it, a USB kind of splitter pack. Try and get a bit better picture of it later. So basically that plugs into the AC, and then you can have, I think there's 6 USB power points, USB points on that splitter, which we've just attached to the back of the console here. That means that we can charge multiple things while we're driving, which is really handy for when you're off-grid camping. We've also got like laptop charger and things for batteries, camera batteries and that kind of stuff, and the drone. So while you're driving, you can kind of charge everything. So we don't need to resort to using the battery power when we're stopped overnight, and risk draining that. So another really handy thing to have.
And then on this side you can see we've just bolted in a compressor. There's a remote switch for the, or it's an isolator for the battery, so it can't accidentally turn on. You just switch it off and it doesn't run. But yeah, that's where the compressor's hidden as well. And in behind that as well is a in-deflate deflator, MaxTrax in-deflate deflator, which is really, really helpful to drop a lot of pressure really, really quickly. And finally, under these little side wing pockets on this side, these are pretty crap, but they work. Here's all of our recovery gear, plus some extra ratchet straps in case things broke. So there's a snatch strap, various soft shackles and bridles and things like that, which luckily we never needed, but we never saw anyone who would have been able to help us anyhow. But always good to have, and there's a little mini shovel in there as well.
So that was how we set up our car. The most important thing to note for the Simpson is whatever you do, stuff moves. It moves everywhere instantly. So our goal was to make sure that nothing was rattling around anywhere. So that's why everything is tied down that mattered. So the fuels, the wheels, water, everything in the car was tied down, and it didn't. Nothing moved that was tied down properly. Yeah. Well, Mel's saying something moved.
Well, we started off with a few things not tied down that we hadn't really thought of, like the MaxTrax. We had them just sitting on top. They moved in the first few days and knocked water jerry,
so they did
lid off the water jerry, and it spilled out completely.
So we had 4 backup like Coles 10 litre water bags in the back, and that spilt. So they're cardboard box around the foil bags. The water, my words are escaping me here. The MaxTrax bouncing, removing the lid off the top of that, spilling the water over, ruined those boxes, and that killed them. So we lost 2 bags that just split because they didn't have their protective casing. So yeah, that was it. So that was the only thing that really didn't get tied down properly to start with, was the MaxTrax, and that stitched us up like that. But other than that, everything stayed where it was. In the car was silent. There was no tinkling and rustling or anything like that over constant dunes. So yeah, those little anchor points are incredible. I highly recommend them. I think they were Petzl or something like that. So cheap, just literally put them on the existing bolts, even the seat rail bolts, and just anchor everything down and ratchet it down, and it didn't move at all. So yeah, that was our little packing video. Hope you got something out of it. If you've got any questions, feel free to send us a comment or send us a message. More than happy to let you know how anything worked or what it is. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it helps you out.